Selena, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I loved your book. I'm so excited to share this with everyone. And I just want to hear a little bit more from you. I think of you as somebody who knows everyone and is the belle of the ball, but you're a self-proclaimed introvert. Can you tell me how you became someone who knows everyone?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, I'm a massive introvert. But I think, so I don't actually know everyone, but I am someone who's really well connected. So typically you think, okay, if someone knows all these people, it means that they're going to every conference and they're at every party and they're, kind of networking around the clock. And for me, I really believe that one rich relationship is more valuable than 100 casual connections. And I think that, sometimes we can feel connected, like, oh, I've got 5,000 friends on Facebook. I've got X number of people that follow me on Instagram, but are these real connections? Are these people that are going to show up for you and support you? And so I think that I've been really good about building relationships with people that I admire. And when I think about who I admire, I think about people that have shared values. So one of my values is excellence. And so I love getting to know people that are really good at their craft, who are really the best at what they do. And, I like people that are generous and kind. And I've been really intentional about building relationships with specific people and then connecting other people to those individuals. So it seems like I know a lot of people, but I think I know a lot of people in a very intentional way where I just think that they're magical and I want everyone to know about them.
I love that so much. Let's talk about that. I've also experienced that from you. You're really great at thinking about how different people will connect really beautifully. It's a rich relationship. Can you start by just telling us what is a rich relationship and why do you think every entrepreneur needs them?
Absolutely. So, a rich relationship is a relationship that massively enriches your life. And there's many different kinds of rich relationships. It could be a mentor who helps you get to your goals faster. It could be a peer who really understands what you're going through and you can kind of trade stories. It could be a confidant who is someone that you can lean on and be your messy self with. It could be someone that promotes your business. So there's many different types of rich relationships. But I believe that all entrepreneurs need those rich relationships because I believe they are like rocket ships, right? They're the fastest way to get from where we are to where we want to be. And literally every problem in life can be solved by figuring out what's the rich relationship I need right now. So, yeah, I think that they're absolutely essential. We really want to kind of unlock our full potential in business.
One thing you talk about in the book is this idea of the generosity fund. And I really loved how you broke down the kind of the return on investment, so
Oh
to
my
speak, and you
gosh,
compared it
yes.
to spending a certain amount of money on Facebook that didn't return anything in that particular instance versus spending it on your generosity fund. Can you tell us a little bit, maybe a little of that story, and then what a generosity fund is and why everybody needs one?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you think about building relationships, people are going to want to be in relationship with you if they feel that you're someone that's generous, right? That you care about them, that you pour riches into other people. And so what happened is this was last summer. I had a launch coming up and I didn't really typically rely on Facebook very much, but I thought, you know what, let me run ads. And so we spent $7,000 on ads. We didn't get a single sale. And also, I just felt like the people that were joining the list, the leads, were they even really the people that were, right for what I was doing? And it made me think that, instead of pouring money into paid traffic, which I think can be great for people, but for me, it was not yielding the returns that I was looking for. I was like, well, what if I do what I do best, which is I pour into my rich relationships? And so I gave myself a goal that I have like a $7,000 budget for this, and I have about $200 a person. So I was like, okay, I could actually support 35 people that I really care about who are amazing. And I have been working with a money coach because I have been experiencing my own financial challenges. I had a property that I thought was going to be like another income stream. They say, oh, real estate, like passive revenue. It's really not very passive and in fact, very stressful. And so what I thought was going to generate this like handsome side income actually was losing me $6,000 a month. And this was going on for, I don't know, several months / a year. And in my own business, there were things that were shifting in the marketplace and what people were buying. And so there were just like these ups and downs. And I was like, I just need to hire an expert, right, to guide me. And so I started working with this money coach and telling everyone, you've got to work with Jenna Rose. She's amazing. And I was literally having like 7 conversations with my best friend, Heidi, who just like wasn't pulling the trigger. And a lot of people were just not. And I was like, let me just buy coaching sessions for everyone. So I went to Jenna Rose and I was like, hey, if I did like massive, like, bulk buy and just like had all of your, ideal clients signed up to work with you, like what would you charge me? And she was a brand new coach, and she also understood that sometimes it takes 1, 2, or even 3 conversations for someone to become a long-term client. So she actually gave me a package for $205 for 4 sessions. So basically $50 a session, which blew my mind. And so I just started giving it away to people. And, all around me, I could tell that people were in transition and in pain, whether it was someone that I knew that was going through a divorce and had to give up 50% of their company to their, ex, to people who had been affected by the wildfires in LA, or whose homes had been hit by hurricanes, or they were experiencing significant shifts in their business and they didn't even know, like, do people want what I have? Am I even relevant? Who am I? And so I would just reach out to people and let them know how much this money coaching had helped me, and that I would love to gift them something, no strings attached. And people were saying yes. And so it was so great. And one of my friends told me, Jenna Rose helped me save $1,500 per month. And when I did the math, I'm like, okay, that's $18,000 a year. In 2 years, that's $36,000. So think about that. I invested $200, not in Facebook ads, not in the stock market, but in a person. And that $200 resulted in them saving $36,000 over 2 years. So that's a win for the person who's got the savings. It's a win for Jenna Rose, who probably has a lifelong client. And it's a win for me because I'm strengthening a relationship with someone that I care about. And so, as entrepreneurs, we're often thinking about, what's the ROI? Where do I put my energy, my time, my attention? If you were to put $200 in the stock market, let's say you get a 7% return, you've made $14. While yes, I do believe that you should put your money, a portion, in the stock market, but $14 isn't going to change your life. I think that if we have a generosity fund and we set aside time, energy, and creativity and resources to pour into people that we care about, we're going to have returns that way outperform the stock market. When you invest in, say, crypto, it goes up and down. You never know what you're going to get. The stock market, you have these returns and they are what they are. But with rich relationships, they're always going to appreciate. During times of crisis, a lot of your assets can plummet. During times of crisis, rich relationships only get stronger. And so I know it's a very different way of looking at, like, investing in your future and your, just like the support that you have around you. But I think that everyone should carve out time, energy, creativity, and yes, money to invest in their rich relationships.
I love that so much. And I love the idea of comparing an investment in the stock market. I do that too when it comes to investing in your business and your skills, right? Because these are assets that will only appreciate over time. So I just love that comparison. A lot of our listeners are 1 to 2 person businesses, branding agencies, very small businesses. They may have a small network that they haven't put too much intention into. I know that you talk about rich relationships. It's the long game, right? It's about giving without any specific thing that you're looking for in the short term or ever. How do you recommend a small business owner who might be thinking about, well, I need to be looking for sales now, and yet I also understand the idea of investing in these long-term relationships? Like, how would you recommend that they balance those 2 needs?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'll start with my framework to build and, nurture and activate rich relationships, which is align, attract, and activate, right? So first of all, not all relationships are created equal. There are going to be some people that you don't jive with. Maybe there's a values misalignment. Maybe there's just not really that much that you can do together. Whereas there's certain relationships where there's like this energy of abundance and synergy, and it just feels natural and easy. So I think that first you have to get clear on who you are and what your values are. So for example, one of my number 1 highest value is excellence. And that just shows up in terms of how I care for people and how I serve people. I believe in, 5-star customer service, white glove. And I feel like the branding agency owners are going to really relate to this as creatives, like creating that magical wow experience. So for me, when I think about who I'm connecting with, I don't really tend to want to go deep with people if I know that their work is sloppy or they're not true to their word, or maybe they make a lot of money, but meanwhile, a lot of their customers are like, oh, I kind of felt scammed, or this wasn't worth the money. I build relationships where there's like that alignment. So everyone's going to have their alignment for them. And, we all have multiple values. Maybe someone's value is, I really enjoy being around people that are high integrity, or maybe they're like, lighthearted, or maybe they really care about life and they've built a life first business and they're not all about business, right? So you have to like understand who you're going to be drawn to, because if you're just building relationships based on what people can do for you or their status, it's going to feel unfulfilling and it's actually not sustainable. And then you also, as part of the align, you've got to get clear on what are the kinds of relationships I need right now. For me, there have been phases of my business where I really needed a mentor to show me the shortcuts and the step-by-step plan. And then there might be phases where it's like, okay, I've got my plan, I've mastered it, I know how I want to do things. I actually want to connect with more peers who are on the same journey with me. Or maybe I want an investor or a business partner or a particular team member. So, getting aligned means knowing what your values are, who you're drawn to, and the kinds of rich relationships you want. So that's kind of step one. And then there's step two, which is the attract piece, right? So in order to really like be good at the rich relationships, you have to attract people to you, right? So attracting people to you is your personal brand. When people hear your name, it's like, oh yeah, I've heard about her. Oh yeah, people say amazing things. I want to get to know her better, right? And attract is also when they engage with you, are you attractive to them? Like, oh, I love her positive energy. She's so generous and thoughtful. Oh, she always adds value. Versus maybe someone's like, oh, this person's just like always complaining and down in the dumps, or this person just seemed like really distracted and didn't really care or was interested in me, right? So we need to really be able to attract those relationships. And within attraction, it's also nurturing those relationships so that we're revealing who we are, they're experiencing our work. Because the reality is, if we want referrals for our business, we can't just randomly ask people to send business our way. They need to feel like, I understand what she does, I see how she's different, and I can personally vouch for her. That's the only way that they're going to be able to show up in a big way and support you. And then the next phase is activate, because now that you're clear on who you're looking to build relationships with, you have attracted them and you're attractive to them. Now it's a stage where you can ask for help, right? And so asking for help could look like, hey, I want to run an idea by you and get your advice on something I'm actually kind of struggling with. Activate might be, who would you recommend to help me solve this problem? It might be, I'm doing an in-person event and I would love to have you as a speaker. It could be, I have openings for new clients and I'm curious if there's anyone that might be a good fit, or if we could like brainstorm around that. But what people tend to sometimes do when they feel like rushing the relationship and coming from a place of desperation is they try to go to step 3 right away. They want to activate it really quickly, but they haven't actually gone through the initial phases of making sure they're aligned and that they've built a relationship where they're attractive to the people they want to go deeper with.
It's a great summary. And I just want to say a side note, like I love how your book is not just a book. It's really, there's like a workbook element to it.
It
gives
is.
lots of questions to answer and ways to figure out what your own values are, your own brand is. So it's just a really great way to work through this work on your own. So thank you for that. That actually leads into my next question. Can you describe that there are 3 types of givers? Can you kind of break that down for us?
Yeah, so this is really important. This is, a huge piece of my book. So there are 3 types of givers. The first one is the indiscriminate giver. And what that looks like is someone that kind of feels like they have to always be giving. If someone asks them for something, the answer is automatically yes. And they tend to run themselves ragged and they get exhausted. And what happens over time is they start to get resentful. Why am I the one who's always giving? And why do people just always need so much from me? Then there is the transactional giver who thinks, okay, well, I will give to you, but I need to know that I'm getting this thing in return. And I want to be clear that in business, we should have transactions, we should have people paying for our services
Sure.
and so forth, but I'm talking about giving and kind of how you show up. So not everything in life should be, a transaction, right? And so sometimes they might be come across as overly calculating and strategic, and that can block the flow of, rich relationships. And then there is the rich giver. And a rich giver is somebody who pours intentionally into people. They realize I'm just one person. I can't give to every person on the planet, but there are going to be people where I can feel that I'm inspired by them. I feel the values alignment. I feel the win-win energy. And it just feels good to help these particular people. And when you're a rich giver, because you're also managing your time and energy, that you're also in a place where you can truly show up for people and then also create the space where they can pour back into you. So it's very intentional and thoughtful giving, but also coming from a place of an open heart and a generous spirit.
I love that breakdown. And, a lot of this has to do with giving, right? To build the relationship. I always hear you say pour into people. I think sometimes certainly my students can feel like, well, what do I have to offer? What do I have to give? Can you give us some examples of the different kinds of value that people can give without any, desire to get something back? Like, what are maybe a story of a way that you've given or you've seen someone give that was a little out there?
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to giving, it doesn't have to take a lot of time. And I think it's good to have a mix. There are things that are easy and effortless. And then there will be times when you really show up for the people that you care about and there is, more effort, right? And energy and creativity expended. But simple ways that you can really add value to people would even be just giving them a compliment or, being like, wow, like, I was just talking to someone earlier who is a financial advisor, and we were talking about my book, and she just had such good language around my book. She was like, it's like medicine. Rich relationships are like medicine and all these different things. And I was like, wow, you should be a copywriter. Like, that is amazing. Or just like when someone shares a story with you, really like reflecting back what you're hearing and like affirming things and being excited, like your presence, your energy, you seeing someone for their brilliance. Like that's already, being a giver and contributing to their life. As you get to know someone and you see their gifts and talents, recommending them to someone, sharing their name in rooms where they're not in and continuing to lift them up, that's adding value. Also letting people know that you're thinking about them, whether it's their birthday or it's the new year, or you see that they just launched a podcast or a book or a something, and sending them like a little note just to let them know that you're thinking of them. I will say that it does make a difference when you do it kind of against the crowd, right? So if everyone is saying like happy birthday on a particular day,
Right.
the person's birthday, if you can get in one day before, it's actually going to be way more powerful because you were the first. If someone's got a book out, and I've done this before for someone, I wanted to leave the first Amazon review, which actually meant me staying up until 3 a.m. Eastern because the reviews open at 12 o'clock Pacific at midnight. But I wanted to be the first review, right? So there is something when you're the first, people are like, oh my goodness. The other thing I like to share about in terms of building meaningful relationships is identifying golden moments. So there's two kinds of golden moments. There are moments where people are in pain, and there's moments where people are really focused on their goals and dreams. So people might say to me, Selena, well, I don't know what someone's goals and dreams are, but look all around you, right? You can see people being like, I'm launching a book, I'm starting a podcast. And if they're an entrepreneur, obviously a goal and dream is to typically grow their business, get better clients and all of that. So think about how you can really attach yourself to that goal and dream and be someone who helps them get there faster. Then people are just going to love you. The other thing is with the pain points, right? Looking all around you who is in pain, which we talked about earlier, people being affected by natural disasters, huge life changes, identity changes, financial struggles, and being the person that shows up during those times. And ideally we want to be the first to show up, not the last to show up. Like, be proactive. For me, I know that whenever someone has a book coming out, they have a big goal and dream, and they're also in an immense amount of pain, because the reality is, like, typically, and because you've written a book, which is so brilliant. I just tell everyone about the book. Like, it's like homework oftentimes for certain clients, like, you got to buy this
Thank
book.
you.
Yeah, but you want to be proactive. And so when someone has a book coming out, I know that they're in pain. And so I will like just reach out to, if they're like a friend or a colleague, and just say like, hey, I just saw you announcing that your book is coming out. I just wanted you to know that you can lean on me for your book. If I can be a helpful sounding board, feel free to reach out to me. Sometimes I'll be like, I'm pre-ordering the book right now, and I'm ready once it's live to put up my Amazon review. Or even there's people that I've bought, different quantities. I've bought 200 books or 10 books or whatever. The funny thing is like, people are sometimes in, masterminds and things like that, which are incredible, right? But sometimes people will invest, say like 30,000 into a year-long mastermind, and that's great, especially if you're looking to get like the skills and the game plan and the community. But then when it comes to their generosity fund and giving, they don't think about it. And I get it, because it wasn't something that they planned for. But here's the thing, let's say if you put $200 a person, and every time someone has a book come out that is a friend of yours, it's automatic. Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna buy 5 books like for my team, or for 5 books for my best friend. I'll leave an Amazon review, and that's kind of like maybe like a baseline, like automatic. Like they're gonna just like love you so much, and that cost you $200. And then again, yeah, if you do that for 35 people, that's only $7,000, which it is really not very much in the grand scheme of things. Like you think about the things that we do. We hop on planes, we stay at hotels, we set aside multiple days for travel, and that is a good idea. You should be doing that, but in conjunction, you can also do these things which are actually kind of a light lift and don't have to cost very much money.
That's a great breakdown, and I just hope everyone's listening. Depending on where you are in business, some of you might be ready to make those kinds of investments, and in the scheme of things, the ROI is going to be huge and you don't have to calculate it. But in the interim, you can give compliments, cheer people on, lend an ear, just let people know you're thinking about them. So there's a variety of things that you can do. And I have one last question before we go. You talk about the 6 circles of connection. I know it's kind of a big question.
Oh, but this is huge. I'm so happy.
I think that it's important to know that you want to be pouring into certain people and not others. You can't pour into everyone. So you want to be really discerning about who you pour into.
Yeah, no, I'm so happy to answer this question, because it's been a game changer for me and many of my friends and colleagues. And so the 6 circles of connection is a framework for managing your relationship. So I really believe that, the best relationships are one where there's high levels of trust, right? And because of that, there's proximity, right? You give them more access to you, and there's mutual caring for each other. So if you think about 6 different circles, let's start with circle 1. This is your innermost circle. This will typically be 1 to 3 people. For some people, it's 0, but this is basically who you're doing life with. This might be a life partner, a business partner, a best friend. If you've been working with a therapist for a long time, like 7 years, and they kind of like have seen your whole life unfold, and they're your most trusted confidant, then they would also be in circle 1. And these are people that you can completely let your guard down with, be your full self. They're 1,000% there for you. You know that you're a priority for your circle 1. Now, circle 2 is your treasured network. And so these are people that maybe are not on the pulse of what's happening day by day or week by week. But you know that if you ever said, help, they're going to be like, yes, how do I help you? If you texted them and you're like, I know this is last minute, but I really need to talk to you. Can you carve out some time to talk to me tonight about something really important? They're like, yes, like I'm there for you. I will rearrange my other thing. I want to show up for you. You're a priority. Right? Circle 3 is now your active network. And these are relationships that you really treasure. Typically there's going to be a values alignment. You feel comfortable with them. You feel very confident referring business to them, knowing that they're high integrity. You would be comfortable inviting them to stay a night at your home if they were in your city, right? Like you can give them that kind of access to you. So that's going to be, multiple dozens or even 100 or more kind of people where there's that level of comfort. And you know that with your circle 3s, if you're like, I need help, they will really think about like, how can I help you? Yeah, let's get on a call. Let's talk about it. They're not going to ghost you. I mean, maybe sometimes they're busy and there's a little bit of follow-up, but they truly care about you. Now there's circle 4. Circle 4, they are people that you kind of keep at an arm's length, right? So there's a bit of a distance to them. They might be in circle 4 because you literally just met them. And after one conversation, they can't be your business bestie. You just don't know who they are. After one conversation, you can't be confident that they should become become your business partner, that you should send business their way, right? They might be in circle 4 because like you've known them for years, you went to college together, family, friends, and all of that. But maybe there's a little bit of a values misalignment, or maybe it's a colleague and it's like, I love this person, but they always flake. They never follow through on their word. I never know what to expect. It's like, okay, they're still a part of my network. Maybe they can come to the party, but I'm probably not going to, share everything. And I just know that I have to be like mindful about how I manage this particular relationship. And then there's circle 5, and this is disconnected. And, usually there's a small number, hopefully. In some cases, there's no one in this network. But, even I have situations, having been in business for 3 years and just lived, over, 40 years, that I have people where it's like the line has been crossed and we're kind of done. I'm not going to try to revive the relationship. Maybe in some cases you don't feel safe with them. There have also been situations where someone has been really kind to me, but I know how they have treated other people. I've seen that they're very litigious. They create all kinds of drama and chaos. And if I get close to them, I'm going to get looped into drama and chaos. And it's just like, not for me. I got to keep my distance. That's circle 5. And then circle 6 is basically unknown. There are people that maybe you've heard about, you've seen each other, but you don't actually have like a relationship, you haven't talked. And so with this framework, just to be clear, this is a mental framework for yourself. People don't often know, like, oh, I'm in circle 4, I'm in circle 3.
You don't tell them.
Yeah, you don't tell them. Although my very best friends know. Sometimes we say like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful to have you in my circle 1. I feel like I can do everything because, I have you by my side and you're always there for me. But I remember someone once saying, her name's Sherry Salata, maintaining a friendship not rooted in your truth keeps you out of integrity. And by expansion, maintaining a relationship not rooted in your truth keeps you out of integrity. So I was in a place in my life when I heard this, it was like I had goosebumps, and not in a good way, because I was out of integrity, because I had some close friends. And as I got to know them better, I realized like this person's kind of crazy. And, like I'll give you like a potential example, but let's say someone is, a love coach, and it's like, I'm teaching you how to have healthy relationships. And meanwhile, they have all kinds of drama and chaos in all the relationships in their life. And it kind of feels weird to maybe be a close friend and be advising them or supporting them or recommending them when it's like, oh, they're not who they say they are, right? Or, whatever it is. And so, but sometimes it's not like we're going to exile people from our network, but we're just like, okay, they are who they are. This is where they are on their personal journey. They go in circle 4.
Wow. Okay. So then we can kind of use our generosity fund for the people who are on the inner circles and not just everybody.
Yeah, I would say 1, 2, and 3. You actually don't really want to pour that much into circle 4, because then you create like this energetic openness between you. And if they're in circle 4, it means that you need to create some distance. And sometimes, we're really busy. If we are, parents, we're caretaking for elderly parents, we have kids, we have dogs, we have life demands, we have business goals. We can't give everyone open access to us to just ask us for anything and to be like 1,000% there. And so sometimes people are in circle 4 literally because it's like they're a great person, but I don't have time to go deep, and I just can't be that everything to everyone.
Makes sense. Makes complete sense. Well, Selena, thank you so much for coming on. I know you brought a free gift for our listeners. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how people can find you?
Yes, I'm so excited about that. So with my book, I really just want it in every person's hands. And so what I'm doing is I'm giving away this really cool bundle. So you're going to get the first 4 chapters of the book for free. And you're also going to get over 20 rich relationship scripts, because a lot of people say to me, okay, I want to build, nurture, and activate, but like, what are the words that I say? And this is my genius zone, is like coming up with the languaging, the scripting that really works in terms of building those deep, rich relationships. So I have those 20 plus scripts. And then also when people opt in to get the scripts and the first 4 chapters, they'll be entered to win $1,000. So really no reason, right? It's like, why not? No reason not to opt in, but I'm excited to share, everything I have. And, my dream is that one day rich relationships becomes part of the entrepreneur vernacular. Someone is struggling in business and their business coach, maybe it's Pia, is saying, okay, let's talk. Who are your rich relationships? Who are the people that you rely on? Things like that. So yeah, I'm very excited to just spread the word out into the world.
I love that. And I read the book and I've looked at the scripts, and I know a lot of people have a hard time having boundaries or knowing clear, polite ways to communicate.
Yes.
You've got some really great scripts in there for that too. So absolutely have to download it. We'll put the link in the show notes, but why don't you say it here so people can just go right now?
Yes, it's Rich Relationships, plural, richrelationshipsbook.com/no BS, NOBS.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming on, Selena. You're a gem, and I learn so much from you every time I talk to you. And good luck with this book launch. It's going to be everywhere, and I'm so excited to share it myself.
Hooray!